Okay. Now we're going to do more, I'd say, USPSA style, like slow fire shooting, we'd call it, or reacting to each sight picture. Now, let me show you what the exercise is, and then I will explain it to you. Seems like the easiest way to do it. Okay. There we go. Eyes and ears on. I want you to watch my gun as I do this, because it's going to tell you the story of what I want you to do. Don't fuck the target. Watch the gun. Okay, here we go. I've done a few repetitions now. What are you seeing with the gun? When do I fire the next shot?
As it comes down.
Yeah, so the sight comes back down in my vision. I'm like, yep, it's there,
Bang.
more or less.
Goes up,
Bang. I
back
shoot
down again.
Yeah,
Bang.
I bang. I shoot right then. What sort of shots in a practical sight, like in a match, do you see shot this way?
Long distance.
Yeah, so if it's like a mini popper, partial
Right.
target, where you need a discrete sight picture for each shot you fire. It's like, I'm going to confirm, yep, everything's more or less lined up. Boom. That target, that shot goes right then. All of you, like, this is what all of you must do now. It's you're going to shoot in the pace of what your sights are telling you to do. No faster, no slower. I mean, it's exactly what the sights tell you. Okay. Of course, you could always slow down and shoot more accurately, like more group shooting style, but that's not really practical. That's not really what we're trying to do. Does that make sense for you so far? All right. The target is not. The target here, forget that it's a USPSA target for a minute. It's not like A's are good or whatever. I'm just going to look to a point in the target, I'm looking at a spot, and I'm just trying to lay my bullets on that spot. Exactly, right there. Okay, of course, that's not really possible given the speed I'm forcing myself to shoot, right? It's going to be immediately when the sight comes down, I shoot again. But I'm going to be aiming and really desiring in my heart. I really want to hit a specific point. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So what do you think is likely to go wrong, or what mistakes are we likely to see here?
Letting the sight settle too long.
Grip. Trigger control.
Not letting the gun back down for size.
Yeah, that is, okay, so the number one thing, the most common issue, the primary thing that we're trying to solve with this is people kind of snatching the trigger or pushing down into the gun as they pull the trigger. Right-handed shooters, you're going to see a lot of shots spreading this way. As we back up, and the drill will stay the same as we back up. It'll be the same thing, we'll just be further away, and it'll be easier to see what's happening. The shots will trend down like so, like this, okay? Everybody with me so far? This is what your expectation would be? Yeah? Okay. So let me Ben, come up here. I'll touch you. All right, Ben, you understand this?
Yep.
All right, Ben, I want to push on you. Spread your feet apart. Get ready. I'm gonna push you, right? So I'm gonna push into Ben, and I don't want him to let me move him. Like, not at all. So you can see Ben staying there bracing against the force that he knows is coming into him. And as you can see, he has to put force back into me. And like mentally right now, this is a lot of effort. He's focusing on holding his body still. He doesn't want to look like an asshole and like fall over or something in front of people. So his focus is entirely on his body, right? Right so far? All right, thank you, man. So that kind of battle he's fighting mentally, like hold still, like this thing's pushing on me and I'm gonna hold still and brace against it, but I want to push into it because I'm not allowed to move and I want to push back, right? That is exactly what's going to be going on in your firing hand if you pay attention to it. The gun's going off and say, oh, it's pushed up. It's pushed up. Like, I want it to come back down. I want to push into it. I want to push down before that recoil force is coming. If I push into the gun before the recoil happens, what happens? Where does the shot go? Yeah, on the left. So your brain was on holding your body still, okay? The challenge here when you're shooting quickly, again, intuitively, you're going to want to focus on the sights. Like, it's visual. What's the sights doing? Sight press. Sight, like, just follow the sights. I've got to aim the gun properly. That's what's going to drive me being accurate. Intuitively, that's what you'd think. But in reality, your brain is going to have to be on your hand. All the shooting, following the sight and just reacting to what you're seeing, let that part be subconscious and put your conscious mind on exactly what Ben was just doing, where he's standing there bracing against this thing and trying to like look like an asshole and move, right? Your brain's here on your hand and you're trying not to look like an asshole and push down on the gun when you're not supposed to. Does that make sense to everybody? Again, it's counterintuitive. It's not what you would think would make you successful, but it's going to work. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? I can illustrate this better. Okay? So, I want you to watch the gun again. Okay? Just watch the gun. I'm going to shoot a shot into the berm and just not do anything. I'm not going to push the gun back down to where I was aiming. I'm just going to shoot a shot and let the gun do what it does. Does that make sense? Okay, hold the gun, crush the gun, aim at the center, fire a shot, the gun does what it does. Did you see the gun move a whole lot?
No.
Not a lot. I could demonstrate it on a target. I'll take the gun, fire a shot into the target. I didn't do shit. I just fired it and the gun went off. Now I'll fire another shot and you can see where the gun was then pointed. Like the gun moved this much. That's what it did. I mean, it made noise and shit and kicked some brass out and it looked cool, but that's how much it moved. That's what actually happened. How much force do you reckon it's going to take my pistol and move it down this much?
Very little.
Very little. Yeah, I mean, that would be sort of an understatement, right? It's not really moving that much. If you're holding it, doesn't really go anywhere. So if you have the sensation, you feel like you're fighting this battle with the gun, what do you think is going to be happening?
You're going to go down.
Yeah.
Left.
So a lot of people have it, again, this intuitive, like in your mind, you would just think, I have to hold this thing still perfectly. So like, I can't let it move at all. You know, it's kind of like, well, what I'd like you to do is just let the gun do its thing. Like you're like, yeah, it's going to recoil, but it's not going to be that much. And then I'll bring it right back down. Bring it back right down here. It's not going to be a battle I fight with the gun. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow of how it's feeling. Like, oh, I'll let it kick up a little bit. I'll bring it back down. Okay? It's the difference between, you've been in the ocean, I assume, at some point, right? Have you ever stood like in waist-high water and you try to hold still and you feel the waves beating you up and it's very difficult and you're doing a lot of work just to stand there in the ocean? Have you had this experience, anybody? Yeah. And then you notice if you just like go a little further in the water and let the waves, you just like lay in the water and the waves kind of ride you up and down. It's like, I'm not working at all and this is very easy, right? But you're just kind of riding the waves. That's exactly this. Just let the recoil do its thing. It's not going to be a battle. Just let it do its thing. And the way you return the gun is with your eyes. It's not something you have to do with your arms and your body, with your eyes. Does anybody explain what I mean by that? I think you could figure it out. No?
It's just a natural sight alignment.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same way you're driving. If you're driving a car and you're like, oh, look, that looks interesting. Like, oh, she's pretty hot. I look over there. Just naturally, see like the wheel just kind of goes, oh, look, okay, that has my attention now. And you have to like, oh no, I'm going this direction. It's the same thing with your gun. You hit where you look and the gun will just tend back to where I have my attention, which should be where I'd like to hit. If I just keep my attention here and keep my eyes here, without any conscious effort at all, the gun will just keep returning to where I'm looking. So it's like, boom, the gun goes up in recoil. I'm not going to fight it. It moves a little, and it comes right back. Boom, back, boom, back. I'm not fighting with the gun. I'm just holding it. And I'm kind of letting it do its thing. Does this make sense to everybody, what I'm describing? It's a sensation, like a mindset. It's not, so you don't have to, if you're fighting this battle with your gun to hold it still, I promise you're going to be pushing down into it. Promise you. Okay, the other mistake, it'll happen more as we move backwards. You'll see shots tending up here for the people, the right-handers, I think especially. What's going on?
You're not returning your sights?
Yeah, so there's two kind of main culprits here. Number one, if you start staring at the sight on your gun and not referencing that against a spot of the target, you'll just kind of ride the sights up in recoil and be hitting up and up and up. That can and does happen. The solution is look where you'd like to hit in between shots and then reference the sights and then shoot. Yeah? The other possibility is insufficient support head pressure. The gun's just not behaving nicely for you and you need to get more, clamp down that support hand down the gun like we talked about earlier, and that'll keep everything in check. Okay? That's it. It's like very simple. Like really common if you'll probably look up and down the line after we shoot this a little bit, like, you know, we'll shoot a couple hundred rounds on it probably. What you'll see for most people is like a stripe. It'll look like this, where predominantly everything's here, then the ones that they shank are down here if they're doing that, and if they like not returning the gun properly or like losing focus on where they're meant to be hitting, some shots will tend up here. It's super common, super predictable. Like some people will be doing both things occasionally. Some people will do one mistake a lot, and they'll be really apparent. But basically, things will kind of pattern out like this. And it's those two issues. It's not very complicated. Okay. Does it make sense to everybody what's going to be happening here? Okay. One point I have to impress on you is that, kind of conventional marksmanship training, or how people normally would be trained to shoot accurately, is you do it slowly and you hit the stuff where you're supposed to, and then you kind of speed up, and then you're not hitting stuff, and then you slow down a little and try to figure it out, and then you speed up, and then I gotta slow down. It's speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, as you sort of try to intuitively make a leap and figure it out. That's not what we're doing. We're doing the other way, which is you're just going to shoot the pace that you're going to shoot, which is in time with what you're seeing exactly. Okay? And then figure it out, which means you will make mistakes. They won't all be perfect. They're not going to be. If I walk by and I see like a group like this on your target, what do you think I'm going to say?
Shoot faster.
Yeah, I'll be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're definitely not learning anything, for sure. Like, you got to push it to where you're seeing what's happening, you're seeing the mistakes, and then, you know, you kind of address it and work through those errors. You don't get a demerit for shooting a C or something. It's not like that. Okay, so mistakes, we're expecting that. That has to happen. You're not going to learn anything. What I want is, if you're going boom, 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 and then I see there's a hole down here, holes up here. If I walk over and say, hey, like, what happened? You're like, I don't know, I didn't watch my sight. I'll be like, okay, well, that's not a very productive answer, is it? If you're like, yeah, I felt my hand, third shot, I pushed it down, then I'd be like, okay, you're switched on and you're understanding and feeling what's happening, and just by you feeling what's going on in your hands, and you're like, yeah, I pushed the third one, I felt that, you're going to stop doing it because you're aware of it and you'll like it, and you'll stop. If you have no awareness and you're not paying attention to how your hands feel or what you're seeing, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, with that, let's line up and get. All right, guys, what we just did was slow fire shooting, right? Slow fire is in reacting to each individual, like sight, press, right? That would be slow fire for a practical shooting contest. Few of you are looking at you right now. If you look at me right now, like I have a dick run out of my head.
That wasn't slow.
Yeah, they're like, no, that was fast. No, okay, that was slow fire for the way we do things. Most targets don't get handled that way in a match if you're shooting properly, right? We're agreeing? For example, if I have a target at this range, wow, what are we, 5 yards away from this target, you are not going to handle it that way. I want you to just don't tell me what you think I want to hear, just tell me the truth. What do you do? Like sight picture, trigger control. How do you handle this target in a match?
Point and shoot.
Yeah, you point the gun at the thing. You're like, I think it's pointed. I shoot, and shoot is what?
Target focus 2 times.
It's 2 shots as fast as you can pull the trigger, and no confirmatory, nothing in the middle. That's what you do, right? Okay. So with that being said, now we're going to be doing rapid fire, which would be shooting faster than we can consciously see the sight come back down. And again, consciously, I'm like, yes, I see that the sight is down, and I'm going to make a decision to fire the next shot. Okay, we're not shooting that pace. We're going to be gripping the gun properly, looking through the sights, right? And be shooting, seeing how the sight's moving as we're shooting it, but we kind of made a decision already. We're shooting as fast as we can pull the trigger, kind of come what may, and we'll hopefully see what's happening as it's happening, but there's no like pause, see the sight, react, pull the trigger again. That's not happening. Does everybody get what I'm saying? So we call the first, you'd say that's reactive shooting. This would be predictive shooting, which is a really good name for it, right? Because based on training and experience, you'll have a pretty good idea of how the gun's going to behave when you're shooting at that, or you're shooting it faster than you can really see and make those decisions. Does that make sense? Right? People get tripped up about this because they're like, no, I need to like see the sight for the second shot. And that's both true and it's false. At the same time, it's both true and false. It is false that you see the sight, make a decision, and shoot that shot. You don't do that. But it's true that you see the sight. I want you to see what the sight's doing in recoil. You see how the fiber's blurring, or your dot's making a streak and painting the target? I want you to see what's happening. Because if my dot's doing this, if I'm shooting a dot, that tells me one thing. What if my dot's doing this? What do I know now?
Not enough grip.
What's happening?
Left hand.
It should definitely be moving the same every time, right? It shouldn't be flying around like crazy. My grip's fucked up. It's changing. Like something's happening, right? That's information. Like, no, what if I see this? First shot, second shot, like that. What do I know?
The trigger.
Yeah, I know something. Something's gone wrong, right? I think I pushed the gun this way. And I want you to pick up on that information. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it in that moment. But, I mean, moving forward, through training, you can refine your grip. If you're shooting in an actual match, and you see the sight go, I'd be like, okay, well, that target's getting a third shot. It'd be like, boom, boom, boom. And I'd see that and react to it, okay? So, okay, it's complicated. It's a little bit strange, but that's why this would be predictive shooting, and people always get tripped up, okay? Because they don't, like, I think most people don't think about it. Yeah, it's not any more sophisticated than, okay, if I judge the targets as hard, I'm gonna see the sight for every shot and shoot it that way. And if I judge them as easy, I kind of hose them down, like point the gun and spray, right? Yes, Woody.
So basically, your target focus shooting on the closer targets, kind of looking over the top of your gun, using somewhat peripherals to kind of watch what's happening with the sights. Am I getting that right? Kinda.
Sort of. Okay, so for me, I'm target focused all the time, irrespective of sights or target difficulty or distance. I'm always looking at the target, and it's not a skill level thing, Woody. It's just I'm always looking at the target.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're focused on the sights or you're focused on the target, that part doesn't really matter. Even if you're focused on the sight, you can still see how it moves, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of a side issue. Whether to focus on the sight or the target's a separate thing. Because even if you're focused on the sight, I want you to see how it's moving in recoil.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? Okay, so let me show you, with that in mind, I'll show you the exercise. So you're getting the idea. So what's happening here is draw the gun. There's no real time limit. Just grip the gun the way that you're happy with, then aim it at the center of the target. Okay. When that looks cool, I'm gonna fire 2 shots. Okay. This will be it's a little fuzzy, but I'm going to shoot kind of to where I want to be, rather than where I think I am. If that makes sense. Okay. So I'll tell you where I think it's reasonable to be. At this range on the yellow cones, everybody here, you're gonna shoot as fast as you can pull the trigger. That's reasonable. Okay? Like right now, today, irrespective of whatever, like how long you've been shooting, I don't care. You should be able to grip the gun properly, as more or less an adult male, I think I see. And then pull the trigger as fast as I can pull it, and I'll have control over the gun to where it's not going to be flying off the target, and I'm not going to be dip diving the gun down. I should be able to more or less hold the A zone, shooting as fast as I can pull the trigger at this range. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, and then I can see how the sight's moving. That's good. If I'm shooting a group like that, you be the coach. What do I do?
Speed up.
Yeah, go faster. Fucking A, like that's it. That's very nice. That's cute. Go faster. Right? Okay, fully enough. So that's where I want it to be here. What sort of mistakes do you think you're going to be seeing? Now, I'll give you a hint. It's real similar to the last exercise.
First round on target, second one low left.
Yeah, it's gonna be real similar. People will be pushing down into the recoil, trying to like fight that. It's gonna be like pushing down into the recoil. They think it's coming, pushing shots low. This is kind of the main problem, pushing shots sideways. How do you stop doing that? Better? Unfuck yourself. Specific and actionable, Woody. How do I unfuck myself?
Focus on here.
Yeah.
Relax your right hand, tighten with your left.
Yeah. So I relax my firing hand, stop like pushing the gun down or overdriving it with my firing hand. Again, my brain goes here. If I'm shooting a 40 caliber limited gun, I find for me, like as much as I can get my hand to loosen up on the gun, it is productive for me. It's going to be helpful. If you're shooting, and this is where it gets strange, like to throw out some numbers, let's say you're shooting 20 splits, 19, 18, 1800s between shots, that's fairly quick, right? Some guys are faster, slower, but that 18's, that's pretty quick. And if you're shooting 18 splits on this, it might look very nice, but I'll come over and say, hey, go faster. And in order to shoot 17, 16 splits, just that slight bit faster, you're gonna be playing around with getting your hand relaxed a lot. It'll be like 10 times harder to shoot 10% faster, just by getting your hand unclamped off the gun and able to run it that hard. But that's what I want you to try to do. Does that make sense? You're getting your hand bound up, you get that trigger freeze where you can't take your finger off the trigger and reset it. How would you fix that? It's like, wow, it's just a different expression of the same problem fundamentally, right? Clamp your hand. Okay. But now here's the tricky bit. What we're gonna do about the high shots. Because I really see two options. One of them I like and one I don't.
Aim a little lower or
No, Woody, Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Just shoot him.
That was the third option that you really
No, that's like wild man. that's like, oh my God, no.
That was an option.
I actually know one guy, this is a total tangent, I know one guy who was so, I don't know, he's so ridiculous. His theory was his first shot on a pair should hit here, and the second shot here, so that he's like maximizing his potential trigger speed. I didn't ever see him like effectively institute that sort of thing, but no, that's too complicated to be fucking around with where we aim. We aim where we want to hit.
grip tighter with your
Support it, yeah, okay. I need more control or
Slow down.
Yeah, in a practical setting, as we back up, the targets get further away, we're gonna have to start adjusting the pace of our shooting. That's the way it's gonna be. And again, another good way of thinking about this is predictive shooting. I mean, you might ask like, well, how fast, how much, like depending on the distance, what about this caliber, what about this thing? It just depends on a lot of factors, right? You learn through training and experience what you can get away with. So that's why we're gonna be working our way back and shooting this at various distances. But the idea is at some point, I mean, maybe 10 yards, maybe 15 yards if I have a comp, like running the gun as fast as I can run it, I can't return the gun in that time. And that's okay, and you just have to, okay, then we have to back off the pacing. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, but from the yellow cones, everybody, as fast as you can pull the trigger, don't go yet, but from the yellow cones, it's as fast as you can pull the trigger. What do you think's reasonable as you back up? Just think about what you see the top guys doing. What are they getting away with? Let's back up a little, I'll show you. What do you think? As you back up here, what do you think we can get away with?
For me, at the yellow cone, an 18 split, and that's blazing for me.
Okay, well what about here?
backing off on the speed.
22 to 25
is probably all
with
it's needed.
shitty hits.
19 split, 18 or
Okay, well, you are going to be surprised what you can get away with, my man. Let me show you.
Shouldn't change much from here.
I'd say that if you're a A-class iron sight dude, or you're shooting a dot, you could go full send and call it on at this frame right here, no problem. Okay, so again, that'd be how I'd be training myself. It's doable, right? Let's back up some more. Let's come back to the red. Now we're back a little further away, and again, before we're just shooting these like the target type is not relevant. Now think of it like a USPSA target and think about the scoring system. Does it need to be all A's to be good? No. No, I mean, and a lot of times you'll see a fast high level guy run over, see this, pop, and the way he goes, or pop, pop, like very like relatively aggressive shooting. And if it's like AC, on a practical sim, like, I mean, that will work for the scoring system. That'll work okay. So we'll back off a little bit from here, maybe eat some C's now and again, and that'll end up being productive. I need more man. No. Right? It's doable, right? It's not, I mean, I don't know if you can see the holes. It's not a whole lot different. The pacing, yeah, it's a little bit more sedate, but it's still faster than I bet most of you would feel comfortable. Right? And that's the idea. The big message here is you're gonna train for where you want to go, not for where you are. And then of course when you're on an actual match or real stages, do what you know you can do. But for training, like, I'm okay pushing it. If you make a mistake and you're like, yeah, dude, I sent one over the shoulder for sure. And you like, I know it, I saw it, second shot, third pair. Yep, that's what happened. Like, okay, cool. Like, you're not idiots. You're like, okay, I'll not do that in a match. I'll adjust my grip. I'll change something. You know, I'm just not going to accept that. But without experimentation, you're never going to figure that stuff out. Okay? Does it make sense to everybody? It's kind of, all right. Well, that's the deal. So let's head up to, all right. We're going to work on multiple targets or target transitions. The exercise is going to be really simple. You'll have some targets assigned to you, which I'll explain what that is later. It doesn't really matter. There'll be some targets in front of you and you shoot them. It's like at the pace your eyes tell you to shoot them. Like, that's it. Quite intentionally, you'll see there's a bit of a mishmash of different target types and target distances and stuff. That's intentional, just to mix it up and make it look like a match. Okay, but the first thing I want you to consider, and this is not just to, I don't know, it'll seem dumb or too simple, but it's important that you carefully consider how you actually want to address each target in terms of sight picture and trigger control. Okay, and again, relate this back to the stuff we were doing this morning. The different styles of shooting, like reactive versus predictive, and then how there's kind of gradations of how you want to handle certain targets, and so on. So, how would you handle this from the yellow cone? How would you handle like this close one? This should be like
A pretty quick one.
What's that?
Pretty quick. I mean, it's
Okay, quick is okay. This is great. I'm glad you said that. So what I don't want to hear is, it doesn't really matter what I hear, I guess, but in your mind, you want to be specific to like a process rather than a pace, if that makes sense. So quick one, that's all right. If in my brain I look at this and I'm like, that one's fast. What do you think's likely to happen? What's that?
Predictive.
Okay, that's if you're well trained. What if you're maybe not perfect?
Yeah, you're not gonna pay attention.
Yeah, it's like quick means, that's not really specific to a process. It's just like quick could mean whatever. I'm going to shoot fast, I guess, and I guess we'll see what happens, right? That's not, I mean, instead I'm looking for, hey, I'm going to look through the gun at the center of the target. When I think the gun's lined up, I want to be shooting as fast as I can pull the trigger. Your grip's going to be a certain way, that sort of thing. It's specific to a process. What about this target?
I'm gonna aim for each shot that I take.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look here. Sight comes there. Careful press. You know, dive in. Careful press, and then you'll just keep looking where you want to hit. Confirm the sight's back down. React to that. Pull the trigger again. And so on. And as you can see around here, there's a few different target types and distances. What about the steel?
more precision.
More precision. That's
Yeah.
Pretend I'm the dumbest person you've ever encountered and explain to me exactly what more precision means.
Make sure you have your sight alignment and trigger press.
Right.
Yeah, so like sight alignment would be like I'm looking at a spot and I actually see that for each shot I fire.
Yes.
Okay, and again, like it's really important that you parse it out in your head really specifically, because that way when you're shooting and watching what's happening as it's happening, you can be like, hey, is that what I wanted to see? Like I thought about this before I did it. Did I shoot exactly when I thought I'd shoot? Did I shoot as soon as I saw the sight coming at a target? Am I actually seeing the sight returning on stuff? I mean, the more specific you are with what you want, I mean, the more specific then your assessment can be. So making that point is really important. Okay, that makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so as I look at these targets, I have an idea in my head of what I want it to look like. And since we're working on multiple targets, okay, what I'm primarily assessing is at how you move between the target. That's it. You're going to shoot the target. You physically shoot the target once you get on it to the level you can shoot it right now. That's it. I'm looking at what happens in between. So the first thing, probably the most important concept, will be this one. I'm going to look to a target, and then the gun will come up to where I'm looking, and then when I see the sight picture that worked for that target, I'll just look to the next target. I want you to watch the way my gun moves from target to target. Now, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but what would you say about the way this looks?
Deliberate.
It's slow and controlled.
Yeah, I agree. This is slow and controlled. Look to a spot, gun, look. Okay. Now I'm going to shoot live ammo, and I want you to watch the way the gun moves between targets. If you take nothing else away from this exercise, you can just plug your ears, guys. Not going to be shooting the whole time. I swear to God. All right, again, watch the gun itself as it moves between the targets. Come on, be nice. All right, here we go. Okay, now I put in the shooting. Was you guys watching my gun? Was it the same or different,
It was
basically?
the same pace.
Everybody agrees.
Yes.
I thought the transition was quicker between the far target to the close target.
Maybe, but it was pretty close, right? It's not a lot different.
It was slow and controlled aim. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
as the gun movement part.
Right.
Okay. So rule number one is this really important. How fast you are engaging multiple targets doesn't have a whole lot to do with how fast you physically
Right.
move the gun from one spot to another. So the ideas you have, I mean, again, this is intuitively, you would think this would be the case. Like, you know, how fast, it's like people call it like driving the gun, or people like transitioning off your foot and shit like that. As you can see, like in a practical setup like this, we're not doing any of that. Like it's not how physical can I push it around. It's not gun from point A to point B. Yeah, control and precision is what makes you fast, right? Now, you probably agree that when I shot the exercise, it was like objectively fast. You look at that like, yeah, that was good. That was pretty quick, right? Okay, so what made it quick?
Shooting as soon as your sights are on target.
Yeah, so when the gun got on the target, I'm like this is again like where I mean this sounds simple and dumb, but you want to think about it very carefully and specifically. What exactly do you need to see? What exactly does it have to look like? I see that and no more, and then I react to it and shoot. Does that make sense? It's like it's that exact thing that I wanted, and when I have it, I shoot immediately. That's what makes me fast. And when I'm done on that target, I get away from the target straight away. Does that make sense? So now I'll do it for you wrong. So this is what not to do. So if I were to ask you what was wrong with that, the answer is probably everything. Every fucking thing. Okay? So that kind of, so now like everything. Like you're like, wow, you're super tense. You're like looking to a target, the gun comes there, and you do the shooting part. The shooting itself was I guess kind of fast, and then you're like, look at, yeah, I'm hanging around. What I'm doing, I'm just, all I did was like just look through the scope and like, yeah, cool, I hit it. I'm so good. And then I look to the next target. I'm like, let's go up there fast. I'm tense my shoulder. Throw the gun up there. Sights look good. I mean, and then I confirm. I'm like, okay, now they look really good. I aimed extra good. Now I get extra. I get a star or something. And then boom, do the shooting. And then again, look through the scope. Ooh, cool. Like that's so good. Again, that's all of the things not to do. Fair enough. So probably the best way to conceptualize this for people is you use your gun the way you use a mouse. Okay, so let's say you're wow, what? What?
Jesus.
What'd you say? What
For sex?
That's actually a great example. So let's say you're surfing one of Woody's like gentleman's websites, and you see a particularly interesting looking lady doing something that looks interesting to you. And you're like, okay, and you're in a hurry, so you're gonna click on stuff really fast. Like, I mean, how do I click on that thing really fast? I mean, it would probably never enter your mind like, oh, is it how fast I fucking throw the mouse across the pad or like get the pointer to where I want it to be? You wouldn't even think about it that way, would you, Woody?
No.
No, you're just, I'm gonna be cool, just like look at the thing, the pointer comes into my vision, looks good to me, and I click. The physicality of how I'm moving the mouse, you just let that do what it does, and you look to where you wanna go. The pointer comes to you, and then you click. It's not about, it's fast, slow with the mouse mode. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody here thinks about it that way, right? It's exactly what, like, that's how you should be using your gun. Like, I look at the stuff, this pointer comes to me, then I do what I do, and I just let my vision drive everything at the pace of my vision. No faster, no slower. That makes sense to everybody? So, like, Woody, that was actually a great example. So well done, thank you.
Not really what I was meaning, but
Okay, so what we'll be doing for training is just like I show you. I'm not going to shoot right now, so don't worry. There's the first part is the dry fire part, and the like give me a concept or think through what do I need this to look like to get the hits I want on this target. Okay, so go through this. Look. Okay, to my eye, my sight came onto the target nice and stable. So, all right, I'm going to go a little faster. And maybe I'll feel some tension in my shoulders or something that'll cause me to overdrive the gun. So I'll try not to do that. Okay. And now watch the muzzle of my gun very closely because that's what I'll be assessing for you guys. What do you see there?
It was a little jerky.
Yeah, it was a little jerky. I see my dog
You're
doing
trying
that.
to slam the gun over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, through you desire to go fast, and if you're doing well, I'll do what I always do. Like, hey, go faster, and you'll start to tense up, and you're always battling that tension and like driving your eye to where you want to go, and just being very careful that the gun goes to where you're looking exactly. You're not tensing up and throwing it around. It's not coming under the target and you're shaking it around. You just calm, relax your shoulders, look where you want to go, and let your vision drive everything, and you're going to be more or less successful. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's shooting at the pace of your vision. And your eyes are really fast, so that'll end up being pretty fast shooting. Okay, there's some common mistakes that you'll see people make. Very common. Probably the most important thing to pay attention to is this. Let's say my hits are clustering up really high on this target. And I'm shooting right to left. What do you think's happening? Why are they clustering up high?
Transitioning straight over, not down onto the target.
Yeah, exactly. So you hit where you look, for better or worse. Okay? If your hits are clustering in a spot on a target, that's sort of an unproductive spot to be hitting, it's very suggestive that that's where you're looking. Okay, again, this sounds dumb, sounds too simple, but the truth is you need to really carefully select a precise point on each target. Okay? What do you think? Where do I look? Do I look at brown thing, or do I look at a specific spot?
Specific spot.
Specific spot, right? And then this is where, again, it sounds dumb, it starts getting complicated. I mean, based on shooting major or minor scoring, how far away from this target am I? How comfortable am I with this type of shot? It might be the difference between you look right here and you put him in the A zone, or you're gonna stay off the nose shooting, accept a little risk, and look out here. I mean, that target would be a careful consideration at a match, right? Look at it carefully and be like, okay, where exactly do I want to look on this thing? Because I kind of have some choices to make here. Then I have to program that in and execute it, right? I'm not just looking brown shape, sight somewhere in brown, shoot. It's not like that. I'm looking for a very precise point. And you'll see things happen with partial targets, or when there's verticality into the transitions, you'll see people are just moving the gun like a turret, and they're not, no, that spot, and the gun moves up a little bit, that spot, and you have to pick a specific point. It's gonna make you a lot more accurate. Okay, that can happen. I'm also gonna, of course, we'll be pushing you to go fast, so people will start making goofy mistakes. So let's say, again, I'm shooting right to left. First shot hits here, second shot hits here.
Pulling off
moving the
early.
gun.
Pulling off early. I'm pulling the gun off early, you said, right? But that's not really the truth. What did I pull off early?
Your eyes.
Your eyes. My eyes came off, and then the gun just followed because I hit where I look, for better or worse. That's the way it works. It's really common on close range targets.
because the way people, I mean, we talked about this earlier, the way most people handle the close range stuff is they look to a target, gun comes onto it, they're happy with that at some level, and they're like, okay, hammer it. And they start shooting a fast pair. And they've already, in their mind, they've already accepted, like, oh, I can't see this, like, there's no second sight. One sight picture, 2 trigger pulls, that's the way I do it. They're not thinking of it, like I explained earlier, where that's not really the truth. You're like seeing the sights as they blur, and you're not really confirming that what's happening. You kind of can predict, but you're just seeing it and watching it as it happens. They've accepted they can't see that, so they don't look for it, so they don't see it. So they look to a spot, gun comes to spot, they start hammering on that pair, and in their brain, they're now done. They aimed it, and they initiated firing the pair, and now they're done. So they look to the next thing, and then they drag the gun off the target after their vision, right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? It's a kind of convoluted sort of example, but that's really common, especially on the closer targets. The solution is, of course, look where you want to hit. Looking through the sights, watching the sights move. When the second shot's out of the gun, then the eye moves. Okay? Let's say first shot here, second shot here.
Didn't have a good sight pitch on the first shot.
No, I probably did. Again, this is my target. This point.
But I
brown
shot
field.
where I was aiming at the corner.
Well,
I mean-
a lot of times, if target is brown deal, you're looking here and you're in a hurry, of course. You see sight coming down onto brown deal, you're like, good enough, boom, and you shoot it. It's like, that's a drag on. Boom, boom. First shot, second shot. The solution is pick a specific point you want to hit and have the discipline to wait until the sight gets there. I mean, again, this sounds dumb and simple, but this is what's going to be happening. Okay? Those are really common mistakes. So there's one other thing that I point out, and this is the reason I really hammer you on the closer is that, no, what exactly do you need to see? What exactly should it look like? It's because people tend to over-aim or over-confirm on the close-range targets. I'll give you a good rule of thumb here. Okay? If the target's like 5 yards away like this, if I draw a line between your eye and the target, as soon as your gun hits that line, you should be shooting. It's like, boom, straight away. If the outline of the gun, like that should be enough. Maybe outline of the gun, and you see color, like you see the color of your fiber or of your optic, like that is enough. You know what I mean? Like that's like, and I need to react to that immediately. So let me show you what that would look like. I'll fire one shot on the partial and then 2 shots up close, right? So watch this, and you tell me what you think. So watch the gun. Good or bad?
Good.
I just told you, and you guys are saying good? Jesus.
You over-aimed.
Watch again. You see the difference?
Yes.
As soon as the gun hit the line between my eye and the target, it's go time. I see the outline of the gun and I react to the color of the dot. Like boom, shooting. Straight away. But again, like this stuff is so hardwired into people, like you saw what I just described as bad. And you're like, I mean, it sounded pretty cool. I mean, my wife would say, I don't fucking know. It looks fast, I guess, right? No, it's specific. When the gun hits that line, boom, you're shooting. All right? Like that's what you want to get to and get comfortable with that idea. And then, of course, the hard thing is you're going to be constantly changing between those sorts of aiming schemes. You know, it'll be this target, and then you look up to the steel, and it's not outline of the gun color, it's something else, right? It's something different. And you have to, again, you got to think this stuff through and train it, okay? Does this generally make sense to everybody? Yeah. We're going to be doing here? Okay. So we have it set up like this. What I have here is 3, again, as is the theme, simple, stupid, obvious sounding rules that you will try to apply, and you'll find that actually applying these rules is really hard. Okay, you ready for the rules?
Yeah.
Okay, rule number 1. This is how you'd like to stand. Of course, this doesn't always happen, but we'd like to stand like this. Feet spread apart, knees bent, ready to move. When you're moving into a position or whatever, like this should feel like home to you. Like as you're stopping, your feet just naturally spread out nice and wide and knees bent. Why is this cool?
Good platform.
Stable platform.
Yeah, I'm stable for the shooting, which is nice. Yeah, but I can move aggressively and power. Yeah, like that's the rule. It's like set up to move. So when we're doing the smaller bite-sized little exercises over there, every time you'll finish, you kind of like check, okay, am I ready to move again? Am I ready to go to the next place or do the next thing? Even though for our little drills, there won't be a next place to go or a next thing to do necessarily, but we're trying to build the habit that like, hey, this feels good to me, this feels comfortable, this feels like home. And like I say, this is a simple, obvious, dumb sounding rule, but you guys all watch each other shoot on some level. How often do you see a guy standing there shooting like this? He's not leaning around anything, he's just stop and shoot like this.
You don't.
We don't see it?
No,
Were you watching the last 10
several
guys?
times this morning.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for it, it's like, oh shit. And then yesterday it was kind of like, yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. You know what I mean? Well, tomorrow has come, so we're going to start addressing these issues. So this, again, it sounds obvious and dumb, but when you watch people in a practical setting, all the time they're stopping in weird, like, unproductive ways, we'll call it.
I'm a newbie, so
Yeah.
I can ask dumbass questions. But Nor, do you like
Just
drop
feed
your
him to
right-
Woody when you're experiencing. He'll have a story.
Mike, I mean, this is
I can't wait
like
for
from
that.
wrestling or martial
Yes,
arts.
we call it
This
a
is the-
shortstop stance, a fighting stance, exactly. Because
But
in
it's the drop foot, or is it better?
You can,
Is
yeah,
it whatever?
I don't get that granular with it, but the point is, like, the idea, like, if you're a fighter, you don't know which way you might necessarily have to move, or if you're a shortstop, you don't have to run a grab. I didn't play these sports because it sounded too hard. I did this, but you know, yeah, I agree. This is better. Yeah, but you don't know which way you're necessarily going to have to move, right? You want to be, I have to go this way, that way. You don't know, and that's exactly why you're going to set up. You know, feet spread apart, knees bent, you drop a foot back a little bit, that's cool. But the point is I can move aggressively out of this, you know, and that's my habit. Again, it's not so much technique, it's like that's your habit and that's going to feel good to you. Okay, rule number 2, sounds obvious and dumb, but when you move how fast?
As aggressively as you can.
Yeah, as fast as you can, as physical as you can do it. Again, sounds obvious and dumb. What most people usually fall into 2 categories. People who think they're going fast and basically walk through the stage. Okay, that's obviously not the way to go. And then people who they kind of overpower through the stage, and they're moving as aggressively as they can, but it's obvious they don't train that way because they're always overrunning stuff. They'll run up here like, oh, I'm off balance, and then, you know, they make mistakes like that. You can see if you were training full speed, I mean, stupid people don't generally do this sport, you know, like so if somebody was training that way, they'd be like, oh, I'm always overrunning stuff, so I'm gonna like learn to not do that. So you can tell they're not training full power, full speed all the time. You know what I mean? And then they get amped up on adrenaline when the buzzer goes off, and they go full power, full speed, and without the required training, you know, things happen. Okay, so that's why the training is full power, full speed all the time. Learn to control yourself. And again, sounds obvious and dumb, but as you'll see, it's difficult to make people actually do that. Rule 3, be ready to shoot when you get to the stuff. Right, that's where you're gonna make your time, make your money on being ready when you get to a spot. And again, this sounds obvious. You'll hear people maybe sometimes like, hey, have your gun up and ready to go, and that sort of thing. Okay, but here, like, that's not going to be enough for me. I would be like, no, like proper firing grip on the gun, a couple steps before you get to where you're going. You'll have slowed yourself down, you know, as you're getting into where you're gonna be stopping and shooting something far away. And not only is the gun up, but the sights are up. You're ready to shoot. You're looking to shoot the target. A really good example would be, well, I'll illustrate it this way. That is something that you will commonly see, and probably did commonly see as other people work through the stage, right? That's not what I want. Instead, what was the difference?
Guns up, ready.
Ready to shoot as soon as you get settled.
And now, again, it's obvious you see it now, but it's really difficult to do that through training, and that's where time is going to get saved. The idea for that is, or a good mental check is, I saw my sights on the wall before the target was really available to me. The sight picture wasn't perfect necessarily or whatever, but I could at least see the sights are in the neighborhood of where they need to be. And then I'm setting up into my, into my shooting platform, into home position, and the sights are on the target. And then when do you reckon I should start shooting?
As soon as you can see the target.
As soon as I can see the target, that's one answer.
As soon as you're
You have,
sights on
you have
the
a
wall.
better one. Sights are settled. Let's try again.
No, acceptable sight.
Acceptable sight picture for the target and the circumstance. Not when I see the target, that rule's not going to work if it's 30 yards away. And when my sight's settled, that rule only works when the target's 30 yards away. The rule that works all the time is when the sights look good for that target. Okay? If the targets are closer, again, because it sounds obvious, but what you're going to find yourself being pushed to do is you're not stable, you don't feel comfortable, your body's not really settled yet, but at this range, as you saw yesterday, the sights don't have to look all that good, right? And you're going to have to be letting shots fly before you feel comfortable and stable, but the sights are saying shoot. Okay? Does this make sense to everyone? So what we're going to do is dry training on the stage, live training on the stage, and then a little bite-sized parts of technique over there on the drills. Okay? Dry firing through the stage, what I'm going to do is I'll go through the stage dry, and the rules are simple. I follow the 3 rules of movement to the best I can. I try to learn as much as I can from that. All right? And I'm going to get a sight picture that works for each target. I'm not going to pull the trigger or any of that. Just like any movement in the sights in the gun will be attributed to the way I'm moving. Does that make sense? It won't be about pulling the trigger. It's just going to isolate just the movement piece of this, and you should learn a lot from that. And then as you see how the sights are moving, you're going to fix that with getting your lower body in control, like slowing yourself down and stabilizing yourself properly, stopping properly, and that sort of stuff. That makes sense to everybody? So I'll show you, this should be your dry training that I want to do, okay? So I can come up with a plan for the stage. Like, it won't surprise you to learn the plan doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of looking at the technique part of this. Okay, I have some idea where the targets are. Okay, here we go. All right, as you watch me go through that, what did you notice? Think about the big picture. What did you notice?
A lot of acceleration to
Yeah,
your
it's
next shot.
explosive movement.
Yes.
When I wasn't bullshitting, I was like, no, it's maximum effort. Like, it's hard to talk and to have done that once. I'm having trouble, like, continuing to talk. I'm truly maximum effort, okay? What did you think about my head's relationship with the gun and the sights? What do you think I'm seeing? Don't think about it too hard. It's not a trick.
The gun's in front of your face.
Yeah,
As soon
okay,
as you
did
get to your target.
I aim at these 3 targets? Did it look like this?
No.
Or did it look like,
Your gun was up before you hit the port.
no, was it like this? Or was it,
Yes.
it was, you could tell, like, in one way, dude swept gun through the targets. He's not aiming. He's just going through the motions.
You transitioned through each one properly.
Yeah. The second way, it was target, sight, target, sight, target, sight. In my vision, very disciplined. Okay? One is good, one is productive training, one is not. And I hope you can figure that out, which is the right answer. Does that make sense? What do you think you'd be assessing as I go through this? I'm seeing like, hey, how are my sights moving? Like, for example, when I come off of here, it's my idea, I want to shoot the steel while I move. Come over here and I do the slow walk, and I'm like, the sights are bouncing a little more than I'd like. So the next time I go, I'm like, I'll just be a little more gentle, setting my feet down gently as I'm walking. You know, something like that. Like, you look for those details. How's the sights bouncing? Did I come over here and like then get the gun up? Something like that. You're thinking about those issues, and then you do it again. Okay, after you do a couple, then you just do some dry fire, and you do it live, okay? Which I'll do for you now, if you'd like. Got eyes and ears on, gentlemen? No? And you can see 2 runs. How do I look physically? Like,
Hard.
it
Like
was
shit.
seriously as hard as I could go. If you walk through it, do it slow motion, you're just not going to learn as much. It's just that simple. Okay. Need this magazine. Need it. Okay, here we go. so more or less you get the idea, and then you saw as I trained, that's what I did. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? All right, and the other thing is, I hate like I sound like a beating the drum here. Did I shoot super quick
No.
this part?
No.
No. Total time though, 17 and a half. You know, that makes sense. Like that's like, I'm not pulling the trigger like 8 seconds faster than the guys who shoot. I'm just not doing that. It's in the way, you'll notice I just spend less time doing things other than shooting. Like it's like the gun's from one target to the next to the next. As fast as I can move around and get my gun to the next target, I'm gonna do that. And then change magazines as required and so on. Just understand what to do here, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, let's go down, let's go to the other side.